Here's Rick Sincere interviewing Gary Johnson.
We're here with Governor Gary Johnson, former two-term governor of New Mexico, currently a candidate for president of the United States. And this is Rick Sincere for The Score in Chantilly, Virginia. Governor, last night you were on the Colbert Report on Comedy Central. Just give us a sense of what that was like being on TV with Stephen Colbert.
Well, it was funny. I think he's terrifically funny. I think he does a really good job of portraying the news in a way that people really enjoy listening to, and everybody, I think, kind of locks into the sarcasm that he presents. That does allow us to understand the issues of the day in a sense that all in a good way. I'm a big fan.
It was clear that the audience was really enthusiastic about you being on the stage there. Were you able to engage with them before or after the broadcast?
No, and that was it was very noticeable. Talking about legalizing marijuana specifically, that brought out a terrific response, and marriage equality, which brought out a terrific response, which completely unrehearsed, unsolicited, but was there.
That leads to my next question, actually, on marriage equality. I think the first time I spoke to you was in a conference call about 3 years ago, before you announced for president, and I asked you what your position was on marriage equality. At that time, you seemed reluctant even to endorse civil unions, but now you endorse equal marriage rights for all Americans. What brought about your change in position? Did some specific person influence you, or how did that come about?
Well, Rick, what I would like to think that all along I've always said that I've always thought government should get out of the marriage business and into the civil union business, and leave that as government. Well. What I came to find out is that there are literally thousands of lines of federal government where the federal law where the word marriage appears. And if you're going to get government out of the marriage business, then you're literally going to have thousands of pieces of legislation wherever the word marriage appears to amend that law when it comes to that word. So it really ends up being a cop-out of actually accomplishing marriage equality, and that if we would adopt marriage equality, which I think really is constitutionally guaranteed, that if we do that, then no line of federal law has to get changed.
That's a good reason. You may be familiar with Doris Kearns Goodwin's book, Team of Rivals, in which she talks about Abraham Lincoln pulling into his cabinet the people who had actually run against him for president in 1860. With that concept in mind, if you were elected president, what cabinet positions would you like to assign to Mitt Romney or Barack Obama?
I don't know if I would assign any cabinet positions to either of them, but here's what I did as governor of New Mexico and would do as president of the United States. All these jobs are not going to be political at all. They're going to be on merit. And if you want to apply for the job, apply for the job. Now, as governor of New Mexico, there was a screening out process made up of a lot of people that I trusted. And I thought we did a pretty good job of screening it out. But ultimately, it was a job interview by me, with a decision made by me. And it was based on merit. It wasn't based on politics.
The obverse of that question is, if one of your opponents is elected president in November and they offered you a cabinet position, which cabinet position would you like to serve in?
Well, I really don't think that's going to happen, but it would be, I don't think it's going to happen, Rick. I don't think it's going to happen, and more importantly, I really do see a scenario by which I might actually be president. I realize it's pie in the sky, but I'm living under that delusion right now.
You're seeking the Libertarian Party's nomination for president. And without naming names, although you could choose to name names, what kind of characteristics would you look for in a running mate?
Well, ideally, somebody that's very high profile to bring attention to the party and to the ideas. And along with bringing attention to the ideas would be the candidate's ability to articulate what it is to be a libertarian. So articulating the ideals and the beliefs and the implementation. How does that work?
Two more questions. First one is a policy question. What's your approach to health care reform?
Free market. Free market with the caveat that healthcare in this country is as far removed from free market as it possibly could be.
And what specifically would you do if ObamaCare is declared unconstitutional?
Well, specifically, I would be constantly advocating for free market reforms to healthcare, which is getting government out of healthcare, not into healthcare. Just looking at, and I don't want to point this out as the end all, but there needs to be advertised pricing for healthcare. Government needs to get out of healthcare. Government needs to blow the lid off of supply, allowing you and I the ability to make choices with regard to the healthcare that we want. And those choices are affordable or very expensive. I mean, those are choices we face right now in every other area of our lives. Why should healthcare be exempt from that same kind of decision making and the input that goes along with that?
Last question for you. Did climbing Mount Everest prepare you for this presidential campaign?
Yes, it did. And climbing Mount Everest, athletics for me has taught me that life is a journey. It's not a destination. So if you're going to go to Mount Everest and the only thing that you're going to be content with is summiting Mount Everest, I got news for you. You're going to be sadly disappointed. You need to enjoy your life. You need to enjoy what it is you're doing. So in the case of Mount Everest, you got to enjoy having to hunker down for several days at a time, not being able to move. When it comes to athletics, you actually have to enjoy training. I do. When it comes to politics, you actually have to enjoy doing this, or you shouldn't be engaged in it.
If our listeners want to get in touch with your campaign and learn more about you, where can they find information? GaryJohnson2012.com. That's very easy. With The Score in Chantilly, Virginia, with Governor Gary Johnson, this is Rick Sincere.